Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello and welcome to Reloscope, the Relationship Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions in life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Aditi Kutty. Let's get on with the show. Welcome back to Reloscope, the Relationship Science Insights podcast. I'm here today with Vanessa Antonio, who is a science-based dating coach and matchmaker based in the Philippines. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to chat to you.
Aditi, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited with our conversation.
Me too. We're going to be talking about dating tips from a scientific perspective. So like the science, evidence-based science as to how to go about your kind of dating and that kind of thing. I'm very excited to hear it. My favorite kind of episodes are these ones. But before I kind of go into that, tell me a little bit more about yourself. I'd love to know more about what you do.
So, Aditi, as you have mentioned, I'm a science-based dating coach. I've started studying and researching about dating and relationship a little more than 8 years ago when I was single. And I thought, like, I have so many friends who are also single. And I've seen like they're wonderful, they're successful in their careers, they're beautiful. And I was like, how come we couldn't find our love, we couldn't find the one, right? So usually when a person is single, they would ask for advice from other people who are single as well, or from their grandparents or their parents. But most of the advice are coming from friends. But then I feel like those advice will be our like personal experience. And so I thought, if we have been using science to solve some of the world's problem, if we have been using science to improve our lifestyle, why aren't we using science to help us level up in things that are most important to us, which is a relationship, right? When you talk to somebody who's on their deathbed, like one of the things that they will really treasure are the relationships that they had when in their life. And so if we can use science to improve a lot of aspects of our career and our lifestyle, then why don't we use the same thing and study human behavior so we can be better in relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. What kind of science do you kind of look towards in kind of your going through your advice and formulating your advice?
Right. So since I've been into psychology, so I took consular and diplomatic affairs in college. So that's mostly international relations. But that's not something that I really wanted ever since I've been wanting to take social psychology. So I've had an opportunity to pursue like a master's degree. And that time when I wanted to do social psychology, the university in the Philippines that I really want to study in phased it out the same year that I was enrolling. But
no.
so I was like looking at their course syllabus and I was like, what is the closest to relationship or to studying human beings? And so they offer a master's in sociology, and it makes sense. Like if you want to study family, what makes people come together, it's going to be that. So I took a master's in sociology. And after my master's, I've had the opportunity to work as a researcher in the United States. So when I was in the United States working as an analyst, I did took a course I take a course in Matchmaking Institute. It's a relationship science school in New York. And so they're the top institute that certifies matchmakers. So people who brings people together, people who helps people find love. And so I thought I have been running my company, Singles Events Manila, for a few years already. And I thought I want to do this professionally because we've been seeing couples being developed out of those singles events. And so I was like, I would go for it. So I took that certification course. I'm the only certified matchmaker in my country at the moment. And
Oh.
after that, I've just been curious about other relationship schools. So I did take a course also on the Science of Love from Dr. John Gottman Institute, who is the premier institute for like studying love and relationships. So that's just some of the things that I've done to like kind of like focus on the science of love and dating.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's so cool. The Gottman Institute comes up so often on our show. Like so many of our guests look towards them or listen to their podcast. Generally, just keep on top of what they're up to. I'm again cannot stress how excited I am for this episode. But I guess we have this segment called "Have You Met Vanessa Antonio?" in which I ask you a little bit about yourself and we get to know you a little better. Are you happy to answer a few quick questions?
Sure.
Fantastic. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book would be Why Men Love Bitches. Okay.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
choice. I don't think
Yeah.
I've read that one myself, but my reading list is quite long and I'm not going through it fast enough. So
Okay.
eventually. What about a favorite movie?
Favorite movie would be Love Actually. It's just amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. I love the Prime Minister storyline, the Hugh Jackman one. That's my favorite out of all of them.
It's
Sorry, did you have more to say about Love Actually?
yeah, I mean,
on.
I just feel like it's a movie that makes people feel good and actually makes people feel that there's hope in finding love. So I like that. Can I also say a little bit about why I like the Why Men Love Bitches book?
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
please tell
All
us.
right. So there's actually two favorite books that I like, and although I was able to review a lot of other books when I was growing up, I love Why Men Love Bitches because I read it when I was in high school, and for me, it really helped me look at dating in a perspective that, you know, like by the end of the day, it's really like self-care. It's really like a woman putting herself first and make developing herself that would make potential mates value and love them more.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. What about a podcast that you have been listening to lately?
So for the podcast, I really like interviews wherein some of my favorite psychologists and anthropologists are being interviewed, such as I have previously mentioned Dr. John Gottman, right? Also, any podcast that interviews Dr. Helen Fisher. And but if there's one podcast that I would also recommend, it's gonna be Dating University. And Dating University is a podcast that we run for the Philippines to help people become smarter and stronger in love.
Okay, Dating University. Absolutely.
Yes.
We will 100% promote that one. What about a famous role model that you had either growing up or currently?
Okay. So this will not be like academic, but I feel like Beyonce, a lot of people love her because she's just a combination of talent and she's enigmatic, and it's just, you know, the charm and the talent is there. So I really like the way that she's presenting herself to the world.
I think as far as role models go, I don't think you can get much better than Beyonce, to be honest. What about the last course that you completed?
So the last course that I did is the Science of Love, and I took that during the pandemic, and that's being offered by the Gottman Institute.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited to learn everything that you've learned over your many years of experience so far. And we might move on to the meat of our episode today, which is about dating tips and techniques based on science. I wanted to start off very broadly. What is a relationship to you?
So for me, a relationship is when you kind of find that something that builds on trust and acceptance. So a relationship happens when two people, or in some other instances, like three people, find comfort with one another, and just like that feeling of acceptance and trust is there more than with any other people. So that's how I kind of like define relationship. That's like that thing that happens when two people find someone who they feel very comfortable with, and they feel accepted, and they trust the person fully.
It's that security with another person as well.
Well said. That's right, Aditi.
In your opinion, does a relationship still mean the same thing that it did maybe decades ago?
So I feel like how people define relationship before and how people define relationship now is a little bit different. Relationship before, that meant a lot of, as you've mentioned, security. Like people would be getting married for a lot of reasons, even not because of love, right? So you have like back in provinces a long time ago, people would be choosing to marry because they want to go out of their family. They want to find someone to kind of build a family with, even if they're not really in love. So it's just like that decision that I want to have, like I want to fulfill my dreams of having a family. But I feel right now, relationship has evolved in a way that people are putting so much importance on finding someone that they're really in love with. So I'm not gonna get married because I want someone to provide for me financially. I will get married because I feel like I've connected with this person emotionally, and this person is my soulmate. So putting the importance on finding the one, and of course, globalization has made this easier. Made it even more possible. Although it's harder now because you have so many options. People get confused when we are overwhelmed with options, right? But that need to kind of just settle for someone that they're meant to be, not just anyone who's close to them physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what is dating then? How do you define dating?
So I feel like dating also has evolved. So when we listen to our grandparents' story, and even when we listen to people who are mature already, when we talk about dating in the old times, it has so many weight in terms of, if you go on a date with someone, there should be like a commitment already, or like people will be saying, oh, you guys are already dating, as if it's a big deal. Right? But right now, we are loosely defining dating as getting to know a person. So I could just be on a date with someone and go home the next day and not have the need to talk about it, because it's possible that you're getting to know like a few people at the same time. So it does not have that pressure that when you date someone, you have to marry them already. Unlike before, that when you date someone, I mean, they're going to be some of the people that you might likely end up with. So
yeah, for sure. So it's kind of just being able to enjoy a person's company. That's kind of what we're kind of looking for today.
Yes, that's how I would define dating right now.
Yeah, for sure. How much of a role does science play in dating?
So for dating and science, like when you talk about like those two different concepts, like people would not even find the link to it, because we don't usually use science in dating. We have this tendency to kind of assume that dating is a natural skill, that everybody could date, that everybody possess that skills. But I do believe that human beings are born with a natural skill to love, but we were not born with that natural skill to date. So, like, for example, you would see infants falling in love with their mothers and their caretakers, right? But when we talk about dating essentially is a social skill. So if you have not been socialized at a younger age, you would have no idea how to even interact with another human being. Maybe you are able to interact with them, but you are not able to maximize that feeling of like closeness, being able to connect with them in the first few seconds that you interact with them. So I feel like considering the science aspect of dating would make people much more successful, not only in romantic relationship, but it's just like building rapport and just improving the quality of their interactions with other human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of just those initial interactions and understanding how to go about them, how our brain works when we interact with other people, that can help improve the experience of dating. Am I understanding
Yes.
that correctly?
Right. And I love what you said, how the person's brain works, because usually, especially when it comes to dating, we are so into how our brain works that we don't even understand how does the man brain work? Like, do we think alike? And so if we recognize that there is a difference in how we think, we are able to connect with each other much more effectively because we are looking at the world the way that they look at it, not just how we look at it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What have you found in terms of? I'm trying to struggle to phrase this in a way that makes sense, but what does the science tell us about dating?
So, what some of the scientists, and when I talk about scientists, we are listening to social scientists. These are anthropologists, these are sociologists and psychologists who have studied human beings. And we're not only talking about 1, 2, 5 people, 10 people. These are social scientists who have conducted studies to thousands of human beings, even across the world. And it tells us that by the end of the day, dating is, as I have mentioned, is a social skill. And if it's a skill, it is something that you can learn. So even if growing up, you don't know how to interact with people, how to make a person feel loved, how to become more attractive, move more attractively, these things you can learn if you are listening to the right people. And when I say right people, I would highly recommend listening to social scientists, studying what they have found about human beings so that it could improve our chance on going on a second date or like finding someone who will be good for us.
And what did the social scientists have to say?
So there's so many things that they've learned about human beings when it comes to dating. But some of the fun facts that I usually share when to our single listeners would be, when you go on a date, you are likely to connect with your date better if you drink hot drinks than have alcoholic cold drinks. Do you know why?
Why is that? No, I don't know why.
All right. Okay. Because scientists have found a link between our body temperature and how we relate with other people. So,
Right.
for example, if I'm drinking like a hot coffee, imagine I'm holding a mug. So I'm holding a mug, and that warmth is transferring through my hands, and when I consume it, it's more warm than me having like an alcoholic drink, right? So they said that you are likely to relate to another person warmly as well. So you converse with them in a deeper level, in a sense that when I feel warm, I am likely to kind of transfer that energy and that kind of relation to you. So you are also likely to feel warm towards me. So it's just finding the link between the body temperature and the things that I consume. So usually when on a date, I would highly recommend for our single listeners to go for like a coffee or a tea than going for like an alcoholic night or afternoon, right? But if ever you decide to have alcoholic drinks, there's this also study that recommends having just 1 glass of wine, not 2, not 3. So if you ever want to have like an alcoholic night, have 1 red wine or white wine, because it's just enough to make you feel calm, relax your body, makes you feel grounded, and it shows a little bit of a flush on your skin. So it's not like It's not too much that you're gonna say things that you're not supposed to say on a first date, but it's just enough to put you in a mood that, hey, this is not work. I should not be thinking a lot, but I should be feeling more. So it's just like
Yeah.
one of the some of the findings of social scientists who is like trying to figure out how can we make our interactions better during dates.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to, I guess, the body temperature thing, is that linked with how our mood can change with, the weather and how cold our body is?
Okay. I like how you are rephrasing these statements, Aditi. You are actually right. So
Okay.
even the weather, like sometimes when you think about it, when people wants to go on a honeymoon, where do they go? Do they go to the beach or do they go somewhere cold, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's so usually we would go to the beach because it just affects our mood. So when we are in the beach, we feel more free, we feel more warmth, we don't feel as if we have to cover ourselves. Body language is a huge part of dating, right? And body language includes even the way you dress. So the way that you dress on a date is different from when you're dressing for a meeting, right? So if you're comfortable when you are on a date, like being able to say expose a little bit of skin and particularly like this neck, which is a very like a vulnerable part of a woman's body, right? But when a woman does that, it shows that they trust you. So wearing something more comfortable, show a little bit of skin, also like helps the interaction. It helps it changes the conversation to this is not a corporate thing, but this is something where I can feel relaxed and I can feel safe and I can put down my guards, something like that. So it affects a lot of aspects of the weather and whatever we consume as affects our interaction with our dates.
Right. So if you live in a cold country, don't go on a date in the winter. Is what I'm hearing.
Right. Or that's why sometimes there's this also stereotype wherein, like dating people who are coming from warm country, they're like more warm and they're happier and all that. So I haven't really looked at if there's a truth in it, but there's just that stereotype because it kind of like makes sense. It's easier to be happy when you're full of serotonin from the sun, right? Than
Yeah.
being inside like at home and freezing and cold. So
Yeah, that's very true. It's cold in our part of the world at the moment. So very
yeah.
much feel that right now. I don't feel not getting a lot of serotonin in my brain, rugged up in the cold.
Right.
What are the kind of misconceptions around dating that you want to dispel?
Right. So, one of the top misconceptions that I try to communicate with my clients is that notion that you have to play hard to get in order to make them fall in love with you. In contrary, according to Vanessa Edwards, she is a behavioral investigator and she has published 2 books on social interactions. She found that emotional availability is the number one trait that makes us attractive to potential mate. And when you try to play hard to get, that's the total opposite of being emotionally available, right? You kind of try to like delay your replies, try to ignore their calls, try to talk to them as if they don't matter. But if you really want a person to fall in love, it's the contrary. You have to show that you're the most amazing human being in the world. I'm available for you. I'm open to finding love. I'm happy to chat with you, interact with you. And this is one of the things that I really like to share to my audience, that it's not being hard to get. It's showing people that they have a chance and that you're open to finding love. So that's one. And in connection to that, there's this theory, Aditi. It's called mere exposure effect. So that mere exposure effect states that the more you spend time with a person, the more you tend to like them more. So this is also the reason why we keep on buying the same brands of, say, for example, toothpaste, because we've been seeing them for a long time, maybe in ads, in TV. And the more we see people and the more we see brands, the trust increases. So it's just like that. The more that I always spend time with you, the more I will trust you and I will see different aspects of your personality, and they're likely to appreciate you more. So again, that's the opposite of being hard to get. When you're trying to kind of play hard to get, you try to kind of limit your interaction with that person. And although there's a truth in that, like Robert Greene's Art of Seduction would teach you how to kind of like, limit your exposure, so over familiarity does not happen, right? So just finding the balance of showing that you are able to and you are happy to interact and connect with a person, but at the same time making sure that you do not get overexposed in a sense that they will, try to ignore or value your presence more. So mere exposure effect also, for those people who are watching, you can also do it online. Like just say hi, react to their stories, comment whenever they post pictures, make them feel good. Basically, this is just one of the basic strategies based on science that you can do to make a person that you like you back.
Yeah. Whoever came up with the why is the name escaping me now? The hard to get. Who even came up with that? Why is that a thing? I've never understood it. It's never made sense to me. Hard to get, playing hard to get.
Right.
Yeah. Who came up with that? I don't understand.
I know. So I feel like the hard to get, let's call it a theory, because that's like what they say. Like when you kind of try to play hard to get, then the tendency of people, they will chase you, right? Although there's some sort of a truth in that, I feel like people are executing it incorrectly. Like being hard to get is not being unavailable. Being hard to get does not mean you have to be mean and show it to their face that I am more valuable than you are. That's not hard to get. That's being mean. But if you apply being hard to get correctly, and like one example would be like a way to kind of, I feel like a way to kind of interpret this hard to get correctly that will help you in your dating life is like setting like boundaries. So this is like showing that, I treat myself well. I've worked hard so that I am able to, say, afford this lifestyle, or I've worked hard to kind of, self-improve. And if you treat me in a way that is lesser than I deserve to be treated, which is respect, kindness, and love, that's when I'm ready to run. That's where I'm going to go. So that's like a strategy for people who wants to play hard to get. If they're kind to you, shower them with your presence. But if they're kind of thinking that they could get you by being mean to you, then definitely you have to be hard to get, because they have to be a kinder human being in order to be in your presence, to be with you, I mean.
It's also about valuing yourself, right? Yeah. It's kind of like putting yourself first and understanding whether someone is worth your time and whether they actually respect you. Because I feel like if they're being mean to you in that way, then do they really respect you? And are you going to enjoy being in a relationship with them?
Exactly. And there are concepts such as like negging, and like a certain part of community would say, go neg a girl because you're going to get her to bed. I was like, if that is a woman who kind of like thinks and values herself, your negging will not work. Negging will only work with women who are like insecure, and they're like, and we all have that insecurity in us, right? But negging will mostly work with people who kind of like don't know their worth and value. So when I train people when it comes to dating, even if we talk about dating, it's really about self-improvement. And because the moment that you self-improve, you are less likely to settle for crumbs. You know that you deserve best because you've been working hard every day to kind of transform yourself to be a better human being. And the science have shown that we tend to fall in love with people who are like us. So if I'm a person who's like insecure and I have so many unhealed traumas, I am likely to to fall in love with a person who has that, because I will see myself in that person. And when I see myself in that person, they will appear more attractive. That's why they say you got to work on yourself, level up, because when you're level up, you are also likely to identify or see yourself in people who have self-transformed and improved themselves.
Yeah. Amen to knowing your self-worth. I think that's so important, especially as women. We don't hear it. We say it all the time, but we just don't do it enough, I think.
Yeah. And we kind of lack the guidance to kind of like put it in a ground level. Like, what do you mean by self-improve? What do you mean by knowing your value? What should you do? Like an example, Aditi, that I will give is for women. For example, you're dating and you really like that guy, and one day they call you, but you feel like peeing, like you really feel like peeing. So now you're thinking, do I pee first or do I answer the call? What's gonna be your pick, Aditi?
My pick, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm sorry, but I gotta go.
Even if you really like the guy?
Yeah, well, I can just text him and let him know I'm not available at the time, and they can call back when I'm available. I mean, I understand the temptation. I'm not going to say I don't feel it. I definitely do. But I think for me, I'm going to be uncomfortable having that conversation if I got to go, you know. So I'd rather have the conversation comfortably.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. And that's just one of the many wherein you have to put yourself first, even if you're crazy over the woman or the man. You gotta pee first, because if you don't, you might develop some sort of, I don't know, diseases, and you're unlikely to find your UTI and you're unlikely to find you're the one. So this is a call for women to kind of like, don't just say love yourself, like kind of really think like, what is an example of loving myself? It's peeing when I feel like peeing, even if he's calling. It's going to that conference, even if he's inviting me to go on a beach getaway. So it's all about, and that's part of it is also self-respect, that even if I really like you, even if I really love you, I got to take care of me so I can take care of you.
Yeah, for sure. I just love the peeing analogy. I think that's a fantastic way to explain things. So thank you. I'm glad that I'm inherently someone who understands my self-worth.
Yes, good.
What are some kind of strategies for navigating conflicts? Because they're going to come up in the dating stage. Yeah. There's going to be misunderstandings. What are the strategies for navigating those?
Right. So for conflicts in dating, I feel like it's because dating is a method for us to eventually find someone that we love and build a relationship with them, right? So when we're looking at conflicts, it's very important that we kind of learn how to de-escalate them, if not avoid them. But it will always happen. So the way to kind of, one of the hacks that can help people who are dating or who are in a relationship to kind of manage that conflict, I believe is one of the strategies that was taught by the Gottman Institute. Dr. John Gottman shared about this concept of 5:1 ratio. What does that mean? For a healthy relationship to happen, for every negative experience or interaction that you have with your partner, you have to give 5 positive experience, 5 positive, say, interaction, so that it will not take over your relationship. So for example, and again, we know that conflicts, it's impossible to eliminate that. It will always happen. And even healthy relationships have conflicts, right? But remember that the negative experiences should not outweigh the positive experiences. 1:1 is not healthy. Like, for example, we fought right now, and tomorrow we went on a nice vacation or have a really sweet breakfast, right? It's not enough. If you've had some sort of friction in your relationship, you have to let your partner feel 5 times more loved, or do things that will make them feel loved and rebuild that relationship. So it's that 5:1 ratio if you want to keep a happy, healthy romantic relationship.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's very true. I feel like a lot of the dating kind of conflict management can apply to pretty much any kind of relationship, if because
Yeah.
they always come up. Like you said, conflicts are unavoidable. We'll never ever be able to eliminate them. But I feel like there are so many, with your friendships, your family, just that basic idea of communicating with people is so important.
Right. Right. And making sure that there are more positive experiences than a negative one. We can also bring that down to, for example, dating, right? If you have to cancel a date and of course you didn't, for example, you did not mean to, but you had to cancel that date. So that appears as a negative experience, right? Like, of course, your date will be disappointed. So one of the things that you can do to kind of let the person feel that even if I canceled it, you're still special to me is like, besides rescheduling, you could like maybe write a note, maybe give her like chocolate or flower, or say like do an errand for them. It's just like these acts of kindness to kind of like level up and reinforce to let them know that you matter. So sorry is not enough. Like canceling a date or rescheduling, sorry is not enough. Sorry is like, it should be said, but the things that will really make them feel that, even if you've canceled it, I still matter, is the gestures that you do, the positive gestures after rescheduling or canceling the date that will make them feel, oh, maybe he really didn't mean it. Maybe he really wants to see me.
Yeah, that actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
What are some behaviors or traits that are usually associated with successful dating stories?
All right. So one of the top traits that human beings are looking for in a potential mate, and this may not necessarily be the best character trait, but based on studies, this is a trait that is valued. It's the confidence. Why? Because when we meet someone who's confident, we tend to think that they have their stuff together. We tend to think that they will be able to produce more resources. We tend to think that they are able to solve more problems. When a person is confident, we tend to think that they are likely to, fix relationship, then run away from relationship. And although it may not always be true, like you would see a lot of confident people who are not good in relationships, right? But this trait is something that we look for when we go out and find a partner. So this brings us to the importance of being able to improve yourself, because confidence comes from knowing that you have the skill to do what you have to do, right? So there are people who are very good in their work and they're confident in their work because they know what they have to do. They know the required skills to kind of get it done. But there are some people who are so good in their career but are not confident when it comes to dating, because that means that they're not really comfortable with their skills. They're not confident with their skills in terms of interaction. I don't know what to do if this happens. I don't know what to say if he or she texts me that. So if you really want to be good in dating, it's really building that competence, building that skill, so that you know what you have to do when dating happens. And when you know what you have to do when dating happens, that's what you call dating confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference between confidence and, like a huge ego or narcissism, for example?
Right. So I would always look at it in terms of what is their effect to other people. So I feel like self-love is good, but narcissism is definitely not good, because self-love is, I will have to take care of me. I will have to put myself first, because I will have to make sure that I'm in my optimum capacity so that I can think better, decide for the family, take care of you guys. So it's like improving yourself so you could serve better and serve more. But narcissists is be like, it's just I'm the best person in the world and it's just everybody needs to serve me. And there's no genuine interest to kind of like serve people or make other people happy and make other people feel good. So again, self-love is good because you want to put yourself first so that you could love other people better. But narcissism is like just really, it's like all me and I'm the best and you deserve to serve me and all that. So it's all inward. Nothing is outward.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's actually a really great way of differentiating. So thank you for laying that out for us. And
You're
I feel like
welcome.
I have so many more questions for you. We could go on about this forever, but in the
Thank you,
interest of
Aditi.
time, no, fantastic. In the interest of time, I might move on to our practice/habit experiment debrief, where we talk a bit more about how we can apply everything that we've talked about and put it into practice in some
Okay.
way.
Okay.
So, what is a practice that you do or you have recommended to other people to improve their dates?
All right. So the first practice that I would recommend will be for men. And this practice will greatly benefit men, especially those who are trying to court someone or trying to find their potential mate. If you want to attract like a woman, one of the things that you would have to kind of like emulate or kind of show and practice is that trait of generosity. And we're not only talking about generosity with money, it's generosity with your energy, pulling that chair, opening the door, going one step ahead of what your date might think or need. And it also generosity with attention. So that means when I'm with you, I'm going to make you feel as if you're the most beautiful woman in the world and no one else matters, right? So we are so used to people taking from us that when we meet someone who's just willing to give, willing to share, we find them so attractive. So even when we talk about like who pays for the first date, right? So it is in the man's advantage to pay for the first date because subconsciously you send a message that, hey, I am happy to share my resources. I am able to provide for a meal. Again, that's just a meal. You did not buy a house and lot for her, right? It's just, and it put forth the intention, which is we are in a romantic space. We are not friends that you have to look after you and you have to look after me. Sometimes with friends, it's good to kind of like treat them sometime and the next round they take it, right? But dating is very, very like generosity is very, very important in dating because that's how you kind of show people that you are willing to share yourself, that you are willing to love and care for another human being other than yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's really good advice. I think there's a lot of very bad advice directed at men nowadays, bad dating advice with a lot of people. But reminding people to be generous, I think, is super important because it's not. I think especially amongst men, it's not valued enough socially as something that they should cultivate. So it's really good to
Right.
remind people of that.
Thank you, Aditi. And I would also like to direct this to women who may be strong, independent, and maybe you're earning more than the man. But the moment that you let the man share, or when the moment that you let the man take the lead, such as like, for example, let me take the bill right now and not make them feel bad for doing that. And do not feel, and you as a woman do not feel like small because like a man paid for your meal, right? It encourages a man to kind of like do positive actions for you, and it appeals to what psychologists have called the hero instinct. Men have that, and a lot of women fails to kind of tap into that because we feel like, oh, when I'm strong, when I'm independent, they'll fall in love with me more. Actually, when you look at studies, men really like it when they feel needed. Like you need them not because you kind of need them to survive. You need them because you you recognize the difference between a man and a woman. You know that strength that they bring, that just ability to kind of that wanting for them to protect another human being. So if you tap to those traits that women may also have, but men are happy to do that. So if you do that, then you encourage men to treat you even better. So again, even if you can afford to pay for the first date, if a man volunteers to pay for it, just let them, allow it, be allowing, sit down And maybe you can do something good for him in the future, take him, like send him a nice card or a nice meal in the future. But at this moment that he wants to pay for it, he wants to open the door, he wants to pull the chair. Come on, it's okay to feel like a princess, because dating is a way to kind of like practice that, stepping into your femininity and just, one of the reasons that I believe, Aditi, is we are born to have that feminine traits, but because of the demands in life, we have to work, we have to be competitive, we have to be assertive, because we want to be respected in the workplace, right? But when it comes to dating, I feel like compartmentalizing is one of the best things that you can do. That means when it comes to work, I'm this strong, independent woman who can run like a multinational company. But when it comes to dating, I will let my man take the lead if he wants to take the lead, because by doing that, I make him feel good. The dopamine release, he would enjoy that, and it will give him a sense of pride that I am able to take care of a woman. And you would see a man who is in love is a man who wants to provide and protect for their woman. It's very seldom that you find a man who is really, really in love, and it's the woman who takes care of them and provide for them in lots of aspects. So give that man an opportunity to feel like a man. Give them that opportunity to feel like a hero. And that's not just something that's out of a fairy tale book, but that's actually also shared by social scientists.
Yeah, for sure. What are the challenges with practicing generosity?
So one of the challenges that particularly both men and women would experience when they're practicing generosity is when you interact with the wrong people. There are people who are just out there to take. That's why you have to find someone who wants to share more than because there are people who are born because of the difficulties in life. They're into the survival mode, that they feel like whatever comes into their way, they gotta take and take and take. And these are the people who have unhealed traumas, right? Because they're still in that, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're still here. They're still thinking about, if I don't take, I'm gonna struggle with my basic needs and all that. And even if some people are already rich, they have some sort of that mentality that I have to take. And when it comes to dating, they feel like, oh, I would take advantage of this. Like when somebody takes you on a date, you order some of the most expensive thing, which is not even proper in terms of social etiquette, right? So one important thing for people who are practicing generosity is being smart about it. That means that if it does not take so much from me, then it's okay. Especially if you're only dating. When you're in a relationship, sacrificing for your partner is a sign of love. That's one of the ways to operationalize it. When a partner sacrifices for you, maybe in terms of resources, in terms of time, that is a sign that they love you, because that's how you could just identify when a person loves you. It's not just a feeling, right? It's that willingness to sacrifice for the person because you love them. But when you are in a dating, since you don't know the person well, you gotta be emotional available, but at the same time guarded in a sense that you don't get taken advantage of. So what are the examples of a person who takes advantage is, for example, when you are on a date and you know that you're paying, that they order the most expensive thing in the menu,
Yeah.
or for example, early phase of the dating, they go can you send me this amount of money? I mean, it's funny, Aditi, when you hear about it and you would think, I will never do that. But you would be surprised with the clients that we're working on. Mm-hmm. They feel like when you are the one in that situation, you're going to feel like it's okay to send them money. It's okay to do all this, that, because love is also a chemical. And there's that chemical that's why we say love is blind, right? Because your logic is kind of cloudy when you are in love. So let's just think, and let's just let's consider that, I'm in love, so I may not be thinking logically. So let me talk to my therapist. Let me talk to my best friend. Let me talk to a person that I trust and tell them that scenario, just to make sure and just to help you stay grounded, that you're not doing a lot of things for a person that you don't even know yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that you provided a problem and then you provided a solution to the problem. So thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing. Do you have any recommendations of another practice to be combined with this one in order to improve it?
Right. So for people also who are in a relationship or for people who are single, one of the ways that you can actually improve your dating experience or keep that relationship, make it a happy relationship, is another concept that I learned from Dr. Gottman, which is attunement. And for those who are not yet familiar with Dr. John Gottman, he has been studying, and together with his wife, they've been studying love and relationship for decades. And on top of the study that they've been doing, like they've been monitoring 30,000 couples, right? They're able to predict with 94% accuracy if a couple will stay together or divorce if they observe them for an hour. So just imagine, Aditi, if their team will observe you with your couple for an hour, they're able to tell, like, you know what? You guys will break up in like a matter of 6 years, or you guys are able to keep that relationship. And how can they tell? How can they predict that? They have actually shared the one of the recipe for that, and he called it attunement. That means it's for example, we are a couple. It's how we talk to each other. For example, Aditi, I hit my elbow right here and I say, ow, right? A partner or a date who is attuned with you, they'll be like, oh, what happened? Are you okay? But a partner or a date who's not interested or is disconnected with you will just go on doing whatever they're doing. So this is a call for people in a relationship or people who are dating to pay attention to those details. Pay attention whenever, your partner would tell you something that may seem unimportant. Like, hey, Aditi, like, look at that bird. I really love that bird. And a partner who does not care would be like, oh, yeah, that's nice. But a partner who wants to connect with you emotionally and who values you would say, yes, that bird is beautiful. And then they're going to make you feel as if your opinion and your feelings and whatever you're sharing matters and you matter. Basically, it's just being attuned and replying positively to your partner. That's one of the indicators to tell if a relationship will be happy or will be broken in years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm assuming as well that often these interactions are not forced or conscious. It's very like immediate. You're not really thinking about it in the moment, which is kind of why it's more of a watching for their response rather than trying to be that person for them. Does that make sense?
Right. So it can be because not a lot of us know this, right? So I could be a person who's naturally disconnected to a partner. But if I want to improve our relationship, since I learned from social science, which is, for example, Dr. John Gottman saying that if you want to improve your relationship, you gotta be attuned. Then I could take that dating tip, that relationship tip,
Yeah.
and consciously, we can always start consciously apply that. And when you keep on doing that, repetition is one of the ways where you could internalize that habit. And so just get used to paying attention, just get used to, valuing the little things, just get used to checking on with your partner. Then if you keep on doing that it will become a habit and it will just improve your relationship. So it does not have to be natural at first, but we can always learn and we can always do it repeatedly until it becomes part of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I know that anyone watching, anyone listening has a lot to work with now when they're kind of going out and finding the loves of their lives.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple of questions from the audience now. Are you happy to answer them?
I am happy to answer that.
Fantastic. The first question is, how do you find the best dating spot?
So one of the ways that you could find the dating spot is whenever there is an environment that makes you feel calm. All right. So one of the dating spots that you can go to, and I recommend this when you go on a date, are rooftop restaurants or rooftop bars. You know, when you go to a rooftop, what does it make you feel? It makes you feel like I'm on top of the world. Like you can do anything in this world. You know, it has that vibe, right? So when you're on a rooftop bar or restaurant on a date, you are in a higher moral ground. You don't feel low morale. So when it comes to dating, you need to kind of keep that energy up. You kind of keep that vibe up. Like it's the vibe of that you feel good, because it's important that when you go on a date, you feel good, right? So
Mhm.
we're talking about dating spot, but I'm talking about how does dating spot affect you as a person who's dating. So look
Yeah.
for places that makes you feel calm, relaxed, definitely nothing noisy, and
Mhm.
also somewhere with a dim light, because scientists have found that that's why dim like dinner date is a thing, because when you go on dinner dates and it's kind of like dark, the our pupil kind of dilates, so it makes us look more attractive to
Okay.
our
Okay.
date. Yeah, so that's just
Okay.
one of the reasons why we love candlelight dinner, because when it's
Yeah.
dim, and also the flosses of our skin is kind of like
Yeah, that's so true.
yeah.
That's
So it
so true.
makes
They can't see the pimple that's been on
right.
your face all day for sure.
Yeah, and it makes us feel like beautiful, like, oh, I'm so attractive. And when I feel good, I am likely to make my date feel good as well. If I feel trashy, I'm going to be like super insecure, or I'm going to find flaws too with my date. So it's really
Yeah.
like important to kind of set the right mindset, make yourself feel good, because when you feel good, the people with you will also feel good. So that's just how
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Wonderful answer. This next question is more to do. I know your background is kind of more social sciences. This question is more about neuroscience, I think. The question is, what happens to the brain when we're dating?
Okay, so what happens to the brain when we're dating? So again, you're right. This is like more on a new, this question is best asked to a person with a neuroscience background. But based on what I've learned when it comes to like brain in our brains in love, right? Is when we're dating, our brain releases this hormone. It's called the dopamine, right?
Mhm.
Why? Because when we're dating, we don't know if it's gonna be a yes or a no. You don't
Mhm.
know if they like you or they don't like you, because you're in the
Mhm.
process of finding it out. So you become so addictive in the process. You become so addicted in the process that sometimes we feel like, oh my God, I can't get them off of my mind. Maybe I'm in love. So that's
Yeah.
like our that's like our tendency, right? So this is me telling you that maybe you are not in love. It's just that how your brain works when you're dating. So when you
Yeah.
recognize that it's the chemicals in your brain that makes you feel addicted, and you should not confuse it with love, then you kind of like think like, oh, maybe I should kind of like reflect if I really like the person, or I really like the person because of the chase. Because whenever I
Yeah.
see them, it's like the feel good hormone is going out of, it goes into my body. So I feel so addicted and so excited about them. But there are people who excites us but are not good for us.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
important to kind of like reflect and think that, and this is a strategy for finding the right one, right? So this is when you kind of think like, is that person good for me, or is that person making me feel excited for the wrong reason? So this is one of the ways where we can avoid ending up with someone who's just gonna, not gonna make us be a better person. So when you're dating and you're excited about them, just think that it's your brain giving you this feel good chemicals, but also think that you have this thinking, you have this rational mind that could tell you, is it just the hormones, or is it really me falling in love because of their traits, and I genuinely like them more than the chemicals in my brain.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And final question. What are the best conversation starters on a date?
So one of the best conversation starters are not questions on um, the superficial things, such as where do you work, where do you live. The best conversations are usually the conversations that you will not have with regular people. An example would be sharing a secret. So you could be like, you know what? I don't usually tell this to people, but since I feel so connected with you, let me share something about myself that I don't usually tell other people. And so when you say that, they'll be like, what is that? Like, I want to know. Like they become more intrigued, but also they feel special, because if you choose and this is what we call self-disclosure. If you choose to disclose a part of yourself to that person, it makes them feel as if you trust them. So it creates a bond. And that bond is something that you will enjoy as you go on with your date.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are the audience questions. You answered them.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I know the people who sent these in are going to appreciate those
I hope
answers
so.
for sure. They're wonderful ones. I was like, I really want to know. So that's all good. We now have our open mic section where I kind of let you have a mini TED talk about whatever you feel was really important to discuss at this moment. So, Vanessa, what did you have to say, I guess, and to kind of wrap things up?
You're right. So for those who maybe just joined the podcast, I'd like to introduce myself again. I'm Vanessa Antonio. I have devoted 8 years of my life studying the science of love and dating, and I don't see myself stopping. I could feel, and I think I will be doing this for the rest of my life. But why? It's because of my life's mission. My life's mission is making finding love easy. It does not make sense for me to meet people who are ready to fall in love and wants to find love and are unable to find love. So I feel like love should be free. Love is like one of the if not the most beautiful experience that you could have in this lifetime. So one of the ways that we could find love or improve the quality of the relationship and love that we have with other people is using science. So that means instead of just listening to your friends, instead of just listening to your coworkers and getting love advice from your grandparents, although of course they're very useful too. But one thing that will be very helpful is listen to the people who are studying human beings. Because by the end of the day, when you're dating, when you are in a relationship, you are interacting with a human being. And with that comes lots of emotions, lots of thinking patterns. And so when you understand how their brain works, when you understand how to make them happy, when you understand how to meet their needs, the conflict reduces, so you are having better quality relationship with them. So this is me basically encouraging our listeners to kind of use science to improve your relationship. So listen to psychologists, listen to anthropologists, to therapists, to sociologists who are studying human being. And I understand sometimes they put out these journals and they're complicated. So look for people who kind of put that in a easy to digest information. And I feel like that's just one of my life goals, and that's the thing that I'm starting to do. I try to kind of like put those complicated concepts to like easy to understand concepts so that you can apply it the next time you go on a date. You can apply it the next time that you talk to your significant other. So that's just my life commitment, because I believe me, I understand you. I previously did not like reading those journals and articles. It's very academic, they're complicated. So I try to kind of put it in a way that people or ordinary person without academic backgrounds could understand it. So I devote my life in sharing science-based dating tips because I want people to find love. So that's it. And in the Philippines, I do that mission through my company. It's called Singles Events Manila. So it's basically an organization that brings singles together. So why do we bring singles together? So you don't have to go to weddings, to funerals, to bars to meet single. I just want you guys to know who are single and get to know them and see if you guys are compatible. So we do that through our social clubs. And if you feel like it's not really the network that is your problem, like you have a lot of single friends, maybe it's the skills that needs to be improved so you can find love or improve yourself. So we do a lot of coaching as well. And when we talk about coaching, I try to kind of anchor our advice based in science, because more than my experience, and by the way, my experience is very limited. So I love to take learnings from social scientists and kind of apply it in your situation. So we have a higher chance of solving like a dating problem or helping you find love. So we are on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. It's called Singles Events Manila. And even if it's called Singles Events Manila, we are also serving clients all around the world, especially on our coaching. Personally, also, I run an Instagram and TikTok where I give science-based tips and a little preview on my life also as a dating coach and a matchmaker. So that is Date Coach V on Instagram and on TikTok. So that's it for me. Thank you so much, Aditi, for having me here. I had fun in sharing and having this conversation with you. You have a great
absolutely.
smile.
Oh, thank you. You have a wonderful smile as well. No, I think you've had such wonderful answers to all of the questions. So it's been such a joy chatting to you, and I've learned so much from you today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You've been listening to Reloscope, the Relationship Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts, so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found at re.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Aditi Kutty. Thanks for tuning in.